Once you've sewn the circuit for your eTextiles stuffed animal here with conductive thread and tested it and made sure that it's working, and you've sewn on the decorative features, and you've sewn the felt on for the pocket for the battery pack on the back of your stuffed animal, it's now time to put these two pieces of fabric together. Now before I do that, I'm actually going to start my first stitch right here in the armpit area. And I'm doing that because it's just easier to start it before I put my two pieces of fabric together. And I'm starting it with a square knot, as always, on the inside of the stuffed animal. I don't want it to be visible from the outside. And now I'm going to line up my two pieces of felt. So I'm going to put the back with the outside facing down. And I'm going to line up all of the corners here. So right where the neck is, and then down here at the bottom, in the armpit areas. Once you've lined up the top and the bottom, it's time to sew them together. So I'm going to get my battery pack out of the way, and then come up here for my first stitch. And then I'm going to go down through both pieces of fabric. I'm going to make sure this corner is lined up before I start stitching around this entire arm. So I'm lining these pieces up to make sure that when I'm done, the top and the bottom actually line up. I don't want to have the top sort of slightly twisted with respect to the bottom. That won't look very good. So I constantly have to be lining them up. As you approach the end of your thread, you're going to need to start a new one. So you're going to sew through just one side of your stuffed animal, and then open it up, pull your stitches tight, and then run your needle under a previous stitch. And as always, we'll tie some half hitches. Once you're done tying your half hitches, I recommend threading that tail underneath another stitch far from the edge. That'll keep the tail from showing on the edge. About an inch. Get yourself another arm's length of floss. I'm going to repeat this stitch so that it doesn't look like I have an extra stitch, and so that I don't have a hole in the end of my arm. And now I'm going to go down right where I would have gone down had I not been tying a square knot right there. Once you're about halfway through sewing your two pieces of fabric together, the front and back of your stuffed animal, it's time to start stuffing it. If you wait until the very end, you won't be able to get all the stuffing pushed all the way up into the ears and into the arms here. So I'm just going to grab a big wad of polyfill, just push it in there so that it's a nice plush stuffed animal. I'm really trying to push it up into those ears because those ears are going to be pretty hard to get to in just a little bit. So as you finish appendages, continue stuffing them with the polyfill. As you finish more and more of your stuffed animal, it'll be harder and harder to get the polyfill into the places you want to get it into. Checking to make sure the other parts are still kind of plump there. Okay, now that I've stuffed my teddy bear with as much polyfill as I think it can possibly hold, I'm going to go ahead and finish off the last few stitches here. I'm overlapping my stitches a little bit just to make sure that it's got a nice closed seal here between the two pieces of felt. I'm trying to make my stitches go right over the other ones if possible. I'm not entirely successful, but I did okay. On the back side, it came up a little bit off to the side. That's okay. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to tie 3 half hitches to a nearby stitch. And I'm doing this on the back side so that it's not quite so apparent. Once you've tied your 3 half hitches, you can hide the tail of your thread by getting it pretty close to the end of the needle here. And then we're going to run our needle through this arm just like that. We're going to pull that tail into the arm. And it'll come out the other side. We're going to pull it so that it just barely shows. And then we'll cut it real close right here. Then if you just move that arm around a little bit, it disappears inside the arm. And I see a little bit of polyfill right here. We can just pull that out a little bit. Looks pretty good. If I turn my stuffed animal on with the power switch on my battery pack back here, everything's working. Now it's just a matter of loading some cool code.